Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So you'll see the layout looks a little bit different. Sorry, I gotta be looking into the camera. This is just my new setup. I moved houses, and this is what it will kind of look like in the future. You might have thought, what's happened to Joe? I had to move house, carry all kinds of heavy stuff, and was just out of it basically for a week and a half. But I'm back just in time for the big clash. Now, we've been waiting for this one. This is going to be now where we really see the All Blacks be tested in Ellis Park in South Africa, in Johannesburg. And man, initially my thinking was the form that I saw the Springboks in against Australia, them playing a new expansive running type game and just being a fully stacked team. They didn't have much injuries. I felt if they were going to field a similar team with that much depth, that it would just be one step too far for the All Blacks, and the Springboks should win it quite comfortably. But after seeing all the injuries that the Springboks have had, I think it pulls it back quite a bit, that it could be a much closer game, especially in that lock division. And that's the irony of rugby. I've been talking about our concerns for the All Blacks at lock, and you're probably like, yeah, now you see, Joe, you were talking about locks, and now South Africa sits with the same issue. And I think that'll always be a problem for Springbok rugby, them being so physical and playing that bomb squad and everything, and basically saying to the players, empty the tank in a half a game, because they basically get a half a game if they're in the bomb squad or starting. So they pick up injuries, and at the moment they're sitting with John Klein, Argius Snyman, Salmat Murad, which is new on the scene, Eben Etzebeth, Franco Mostert. So many injuries in that lock position, so they've really had to get a little bit creative and started. But again, Rassie was one step ahead, seeing the issue, and already started playing Pieter-Steph du Toit in that lock position at 4. So what that is created now is that they can actually play him there, and then a new guy, obviously I know him well, being a Bull supporter, Ruan Nortje, getting his opportunity to start for the Springboks is going to be important for him. So it matches it up well now, because now you've got one experienced guy in a Pieter-Steph du Toit, and he's not that experienced at lock, but he's played it quite a bit. I think he'll be good at it, against a Scott Barrett that's back. And you've got Ruan Nortje that's kind of new, and Tupou Vau'i might have a little bit more experience, but I think Ruan Nortje will play pretty well in that position, so they will match up well. So that lock indifference you had before with Argius Snyman or Eben Etzebeth, and those guys are now gone, which gives an advantage to the All Blacks, I reckon. And then also the Springboks having no one from the bench coming in at lock, so there will be no big impact at lock. And if they get an injury at lock, they will have to start shuffling guys around, and that's where their risk will definitely run. Now, if you look at that team, by no means is this Springbok team not a strong team. I mean, you have a look there. You've got Oxenchair. I mean, who else? Probably for me the best scrummager in the world at the moment, debatable, but he is really, really amazing. Bongium Bunambi, say no more, what a great player. And Frans Malherbe, great scrummager, so great front pack to start for them. They will be very physical there. Then, of course, you got a Pieter-Steph du Toit then starting with Ruan Nortje. We've spoken a bit about that. And then we've got a Siya Kolisi, which has such an impact when this guy comes onto the field. He's just one of those players that really just gets the Springboks up. They wouldn't need much to be up for this game, because then when they play the All Blacks, it's an occasion, and immediately everyone just picks up their game from the Springboks and the All Blacks. So, but he will bring that extra bit of fire that they need, because Siya Kolisi has got a way to fire up that team. And then they're happy to see Ben Jason Dixon get a chance. I've been been telling you guys, watch out for this guy. Strong carrier, hard work over the ball. He gets a run. And then you got Jasper Wiese back in. He had a ban. He always tests. Jasper Wiese is a very hard worker, carrier with the ball, but he does test the laws of rugby quite often, and sometimes get himself suspended and stuff. So he was out for a while. He's back in, but he is a good addition to get back into this team. Then in that back line, now the Springboks opting to start with Kobus Reinach. I'm, like I've said before, glad for the guy. He's a world-class player. And they picking Grant Williams to be impact just because of the pace of Grant Williams. Grant Williams could any time be a starter, but in this case, coming from the bench for that impact. But Kobus Reinach just as good options, so really both very good. But they playing that combination of Kobus Reinach and Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu. Guys, I've spoken about this guy. If you've not heard of Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu and you didn't watch the game against the Wallabies, you'll get to know this guy. He's going to be put under a lot of pressure because he's new, and I'm sure the All Blacks are going to want to target to put him under pressure, a lot of pressures. But at the same time, this guy under pressure have shown he might make a mistake here or there, but then he does, for every one mistake he'll do like 5 great things. And he's such a playmaker and a line breaker, which we haven't seen really from the Springboks. He doesn't just run direct, he sees space and he runs quite deep. Great for the new way the Springboks play, which is much more expansive, much more like the All Blacks play. So another interesting thing to see how that's going to all pan out this weekend. But building that combination between Kobus Reinach and Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu, and then the combination from the bench being Pollard and Grant Williams. That is basically the combinations that they're starting to build on now. And it's both very dangerous combinations, very experienced players. Mangazulu obviously not, but it looks like the guy's been playing for a very long time for the Springboks. He's just really a natural. And very quickly I start hearing the world say, watch this, watch out for this guy. This guy's something. Sonny Bill Williams has already been raving about the guy. Very much, like I've said before, a lot of like All Black flair to the way he plays. Then looking at those wings, Kurtley Arons and Cheslin Colby, dedicated players and dangerous with space. And then your 12-13 option, not picking Lucanio Jesse Kriel still chosen for his form, which you can't say. You can't argue that. Jesse's way also in the defense structures, how he shoots up a bit and puts the backlines under pressure. I do foresee the All Blacks, feeling the pressure of Jesse Kriel in that new attacking defensive structure where they like to put up pressure, but not like as much the blitz defense as they did before. They're using Jesse Kriel to kind of almost be a Faf de Klerk before, where he kind of pushes and the rest will sit back a bit. But Jesse and Damian Delalindi, another good combination. And then of course the biggest one for me is Apelele Fassi at the back. I just don't think he is a Willie Leroux, but they have to start developing another player. Willie Leroux had a bit of an injury niggle and they kept him out. But Apelele Fassi, I think your challenge there of Apelele Fassi is just he's a good runner with the ball, made most meters in the URC, very, very dangerous in broken play, but his only thing is his tactical kicking sometimes I question. He's not always that accurate. And I think for the Springboks, it will still start having to play in All Blacks half. The same for the All Blacks. They want to be playing in the Springboks half. Now, going through those replacements, Malcolm Marx coming from the bench. Wow. Gerard Steenekamp has been so great since he's coming to the mix with this team. A very, very good player. Does his work and a hard worker on the ball. That's all really good impact players. Vincent Koch coming from the bench. You guys know him. Marco van Staden, been coming off the bench for very long. Like I've said with him, workhorse, does nothing wrong, but does bring impact. And then Ulrich Lowe has been outstanding since he's been brought into this mix. Big fan of the guy, being a Bull supporter again. But he's going to also be then with Kwagga Smith. So they're going again for the 6-2 split. Really good bench to bring on. Maybe it would have been like to have a lock in there, but obviously due to injuries you can't have it. But a lot of loose forwards that can be dangerous there for them. And then, of course, also some good guys up front to come up. So the jackling in that second half, anything loose, you will have a Malcolm Marx over it. So, yeah, they've got a good team coming up. Kwagga Smith, you know how he is to just anything loose, he'll pounce on it. So still a good team. And then Grant Williams and Andre Pollard also coming off the bench. So a really, really good team, guys. Even though there's some guys, there's so much depth in this team that there is no Willie Leroux and a few names in there. Ibn Etzebeth, some of the bigger names might not be in there, but I'd say 80% of this team is still solid guys, and Rassie has really created a lot of depth in this team. Now you'll say, okay, are we just talking about the Springboks here? No. Why I wanted to point out this Springbok team is then to discuss. By the way, I'm pre-recording this video. The All Blacks team have not been announced, but I'm going to give you my idea of what I think it's going to be. Also based on them knowing what the Springboks have picked. Now, the first thing that they will know is the Springboks now have not as strong, lock combination there as what they usually have. And obviously they'll also know the Springboks have gone for the 6-2 split, not a 7-1, or some was joking saying 8-0, which I don't think for the way that Springboks are playing in the future they will ever go 8-0 or even 7-1. They kind of wanting the expansive game, so they'll probably keep sticking to a 6-2 will be what they will do. Then let's go to the All Blacks. Now, one of the biggest things was Sam Cane back in the mix, and I think for me personally, I think very important guy just generally for the All Blacks. They've scraped away with some wins. In the first game just lost, and then the second game was very impressive, but still I've got to say, I felt there's leadership issues. I thought Ardie Savea could step up for that, but I still feel Sam Cane is there. For this year and where Razor finds himself under some pressure, having to win a game now, I think Sam Cane should be in the mix for me. So I saw this suggested team, and I thought I would just say that I think for most I agree, but let's start there with the forward pack. They saying Tyrell Lomax, Cody Taylor, and Tamati Williams. I am very much in line with that. I think Tamati Williams have shown since he's been back into the mix that he's just great. Should he be an impact player, and you should rather start someone like a Fletcher Newell or Ofa Tungafasi? I don't know, man. This is a big game against the Springboks, so you want to start off well. I must say I would go with exactly that same starting team. Some might argue Cody Taylor shouldn't start, Umua must start, but I think for this one they'll probably go experience, and then you still got Umua coming off the bench because they also want a really good bench to come on to combat that 6-2 split bomb squad setup. So I think it's pretty much on track there. I do also agree that it will be Scott Barrett, which is the captain. Sam Cane won't be the captain, sorry, but me saying captain or leadership. But Scott Barrett with Sam Cane will have a great impact to have that both of those guys be able to kind of play those leadership roles. But Scott Barrett obviously will be the captain, and I do think that even though I think Sam Derry to me is a much better player than Tupovai, I'm just not such a big fan. I do think Sam Derry in the future will start, but right now for where they are and him being new, I think Tupovai will start, and they'll match up well against the Springboks in that lock position. So they'll I'm sure, go for Scott Barrett and Tupovai. I think where it becomes a little bit more debatable is on that loose trio kind of selection. I think it's pretty much, on the money for me. Some will say Sam Cane might not get a run. I do reckon that Sam Cane will come on. I do think that it would be, for me, not as beneficial to bring him off the bench, but they might say that because he's new in the mix. But I would like to see this, if I could see this. Ardie Savea, Sam Cane's so good on the defense, And then Ethan Blackadder, he is a hard worker. I've not seen the best of Ethan Blackadder, but the big occasion like this might be what he needs. And I think because we know it's Razor picking this team, I think Ethan Blackadder is going to be there. And maybe not, a Papa Lee or someone else. So I do think this is probably going to be the mix. Ardie Savea, of course, and then TJ Perenara, of course, and Damian McKenzie. So TJ Perenara at 9, Damian at 10. Definitely know that is going to be it. Lots of experience there then. So far the team has got quite a bit of experience that will feature in this game. And then, of course, you will have the two centers will be Jordie Barrett, and then I don't know, like Rieko Ioane has not been great this year, but I know they will probably default back to Rieko Ioane. I would have liked to rather see Anton Leonard-Brown start and Rieko Ioane off the bench. There might be a possibility that that happens, that Rieko don't start and we see Anton Leonard-Brown start. But Anton Leonard-Brown is also such a big impact player, and I think because Razor will be thinking impact, he might do it this way around because he's been probably better off the bench than Rieko Ioane has been off the bench. And then with the wingers is where I don't really totally agree. I know Will Jordan will have to probably slot into the wing. Although he's really good at fullback, he will probably slot into the wing. I'm sure they're going to start Bodie Barrett. Barrett's just shown, in the past few games, his influence he's got and his leadership qualities also there in the back to give that backline direction. So I think Bodie Barrett will be there, which means Will Jordan will slot into the wing. No issues there. He's such a good finisher and a great player, so it's fine if he moves to the wing. But the other wing, that's where I don't know. For me, Talia, I think, usually plays on the 14 wing, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe that's why they say Caleb Clark will come in on the 11 wing. I don't know, because there's still a Savu Reese also, which gets favour with Razor. So it'll be interesting to see. I just don't know if it's going to be Caleb Clark. The only reason why I think they'll go Caleb Clark is because of his size. But then again, he's going to be playing against smaller wings. Maybe they rather want the pace. Yeah, but for me personally, if I can rather move Talia, I would want to see a Talia and a Will Jordan on the wings. Well, guys, that is the team they suggest. You've seen my recommendations, what I think could be different. Then looking at the reserves, they're going here for the 5-3 split again, and I do agree. I don't think the All Blacks will veer from their 5-3 split. They will not want to just take the All Blacks, the Springboks on forwards by forwards and try and do 6-2 and kind of match them there. I think they'll want to play to their strengths, which I still believe, even though the Springboks play a more expansive game, the All Blacks will still believe that's where their strengths lie, and that's how they're going to beat them, by moving the ball around, the offload type game. But yeah, they're coming with a big challenge with the Springboks now, also much more able to do those kind of things. But they're saying it's a 5-3. I do agree. Amua will be there. I do agree. On the bench, I think he's probably going to be on the bench. Ofa Tungafasi off the bench, strong, big unit, but he is getting older. I think he can empty the tank a second half, bring that impact. He's got the power. Fletcher Newell's been good off the bench usually, so they will probably play him off the bench. Sam Derry off the bench, been very good just generally. He will make an impact. Dalton Papali, that's where I'm saying, will he be starting, or will Ethan Blackadder? Probably Ethan Blackadder thinking Razor's way of thinking. But then, of course, Papali will have a big impact off the bench. Then them going for a Cortez Radima, which I do believe will have to be there, obviously. And then Anton Leonard-Brown, and then a Mark Talia on the bench. I don't think Mark Talia should be on the bench, and I would like to see him play either wings. He's got such an impact. This will be interesting. I don't think Mark Talia will be on the bench. And that does pose the question. I think they will go 5-3. But if they had to go a 6-2, that would have been actually pretty good for the All Blacks. But that's more my way of thinking, and I think Springbok way of thinking. I think it would have been good for them to have a Satiti there, or a Luke Jacobson, or someone, an extra forward, to combat everything that will be coming off the bench. So kind of go for the 6-2 and try and combat that bench. But I do feel they'll want to play to their strengths and probably want the one extra back. Which, I don't know. Personally, I would have dropped, if it was my opinion, changes I would make in this team, guys, is bring Anton Leonard-Brown in with Jordie Barrett. I would play Mark Talia instead of Caleb Clark. I will definitely then go for the 6-2 split and add a Luke Jacobson or another forward to this mix, and kind of basically that way get rid of one of those backs, so that you only have two backs. Probably what I would do then is drop Caleb Clark out of the team, and you'll have Rieko Ioane on the bench because he is a utility with a Cortez Ratima, and I would play that extra forward, which would be a Luke Jacobson or Satiti. For me personally, I like a lot, but Jacobson comes with a lot of experience. It could be Jacobson. That would be my option, but I do think Razor will go with the 5-3 split. Guys, how will this all match up? And what is my predictions? Because my next video will only be when I'm doing the reaction to the games. I would have to say to you that I just personally think if you still look at the depth that Springboks have got there, and yeah, they do miss some players that I'm saying it will reduce the winning score margin by much closer. But I do feel, you know, playing on Ellis Park, the form that the Springboks have got, and just what's coming off of the bench from both teams, I do think the Springboks win it at the end. I'm going to go 6 points. I'm going to go 6 points. I had it at like 12 points before, but without an Etzebeth, Argius Neyman, there's quite a few names not in that team at the moment which are injured. I do think it will have an impact on that team. And obviously also interesting to me to see them putting, Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu, that's so young, to start. That could backfire on them a bit, but they know Pollard is sitting on the bench instead of a Pollard starting with all that experience. All those kind of things make me think the game could be a lot closer. But then again, man, Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu comes with the X factor that Pollard doesn't, and he might just surprise and create opportunities very early in the game that usually with a Pollard would not have happened, just due to his broken plan, the way that he finds space with either the foot or his return running off of kicks is very good. So he'll kick a ball deep. When they return, he finds space quite well. So he's a pretty good player. I do think at the start it's going to be very tight between these two teams. They'll go into halftime with almost nothing in it. I think when I'm saying tight, though, I do think it will be a scoring game. I think by halftime, both teams would have at least scored 2 tries, because the Springboks have the challenge since they've been playing this very expansive game that I don't think their out backline defense is as solid as it used to be because of the new way of playing, being very running type of team that does find them not sitting as structured on their defense lines as they used to. So there might be some opportunities there for the All Blacks, but then again, the expansive game might open up a lot of holes in the All Black defense. Again, that backline area especially, I do think that the line breakers are now in the Springbok team to be able to do it. So I think it will go in halftime, probably 2 tries each. Maybe the Springboks ahead by 3 or something. And then second half, I think it's going to be a tough battle as soon as the bench comes into play, especially if the Springboks can not get a lot of injuries and bring in that full impact of the bench. I don't know the All Blacks with their bench will be able to match up, and they might be there just that little bit. Those 6 points that I'm talking about. That's my prediction, guys. I hope you enjoyed my prediction. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button below, and keep supporting me. I'm back, and I'll keep going with this channel now in my new little studio area house. I appreciate each one of you that still support me and watch my videos. See you in the next one. Bye.